Focusing on the ceiling function, we're going to look at quantities produced based on demand. Brad Williams, XL Prime. Let me show you what we're doing here. Over here on the left, as normal, we're going to have a demand, we're going to have a minimum size, and then we're going to put these into a bucket. We want equivalent quantities produced. In order to do that, we're going to use the ceiling function. We're also going to throw in a little bit of additional math here. The ceiling function automatically rounds up away from 0. Can be utilized in order to round up the next larger quantity size. In the example that was given, we require a particular quantity of items, and those items come in a variety of different quantity size. The following formula should be used in cell D5 to determine the necessary quantity of items, taking into account quantity size. Here's the quantities produced, here's our minimum size. This formula is used to determine the required number of quantities, the items that are required in a particular size for each quantity. For instance, if you need 6 items and the size of the quantity is 2, you will need 3 quantities. Again, for instance, if you need 6 items and the size of the quantities is 2, you will need 3 quantities. Here we have quantity size. This should be quantity size, minimum size. This doesn't work for me. So let's go quantity size, Quantity. We have quantity size is 2. The demand, you want 14. So the outcome is pretty clear. It's 7. That's pretty simple math. We have 22 with quantities 4. We're going to need, here's the deal. When you do something like this, there's going to be an overshoot. In other words, there may be a quantity discount, but you may be getting more of the product than your demand. That's just the way it is. Why? 4 times 6 is 24. You round it up. That's just the way ceiling's going to work this problem. Let's take a look. We have ceiling B5, C5 divided by C5. Here we go. We have B5, demand, C5, quantity size. And we're going to divide by C5. There you go. Now, keep in mind, ceiling, excluding this negative C5, ceiling is going to do what? Let's get rid of C5. And it's going to do what for us? It's going to give us 14. Why? Because it's an equivalent multiple. The multiple would be 2. The quantity would be 7. It rounds up nicely. And then all we're doing is dividing by this number, by 2. If we go to the second and we get rid of this negative 6, we're going to have 24. Remember I said there's an overshoot? Why? Remember in the 3 or 4 previous ceiling functions, we know how this works by now. We know the multiple is going to be 6. And that's what we're implying here. We want quantities of 4 based on our demand. And the only way you do that is you're going to end up with 24. But our quantities purchased, because they come in packets of 4. Let's think of something you're buying, let's say it's iced tea. You know, you can buy 4 cans of iced tea in a packet, and you need 24 of them. Well, you know, you need 22, but you're going to end up buying 26. Why? Well, let's say each can is $2 a piece, but you can buy 4 for $6. You know, the simple math is buy 4 and just suck it up. And, you know, in the end, it's a savings. Go back and just hit Control Z on this. Hit Control Z. And we have the C6. All right, that'll just break down the quantity. That's it. That's really why you incorporate the C5. Otherwise, you can say, well, I ended up buying 24 and I can divide that by 4. What we do it here. We can do this reverse. We can do this with the floor function. It would do what? It would bring this down to 5, but then what's the problem? You're missing out on demand. You're going to undercut your demand by 2. So if you work with the ceiling function, keep in mind that you could be overbuying, you could be purchasing more than you were really intended to purchase. Brad Williams, XL Prime, thanks a lot.